Hey everybody in aquatics, Mr. Douglas here. This is your class and review video. This one will work for all my aquatics classes for both on the 22nd and the 23rd. So in class, we were talking about, we did the stations activity right around the room where we set up this idea of water availability in different kind of locations and its impact in different, you can think of it as in terms of countries and other things of the like. So the first one we started off was in water abundance, right? And that was the area where there was an abundance of water. It was a lot of water. And the question that they had for you after you did all of your work in terms of the needs cups and everything else became, did your population have enough water to fill the water bottle? Remember, when we talk about an area of water abundance means that there is a lot of water available. So think about in terms of certain areas within the United States, right? We have a tendency to use more water than we actually need, or than's required. Think about if you leave the shower running for too long, right? You don't need to take a 15-minute shower. You can get the same amount of cleanliness done in 5 minutes if you are efficient, right? And so we spent a little bit of time over in that water abundance station, pouring the water into the cups. Then we did the physical water scarcity. That was where the idea of that you just moved here from Arizona to Danbury, and you didn't realize that there was a physical water scarcity issue, that there wasn't a lot of rain, and the snow melt wasn't around, where the snow melt impacted the water, right? And you weren't used to this. So what ended up happening was you had to figure out how are you going to divide the limited water that you had amongst your 10 cups. So some of you decided to give a lot of full cups to agriculture and then give some and none for some of them. And you decided to give like a little bit for industry, but you gave a full cup for human needs. So again, this really came down to the idea of when we talk about water scarcity, if water is limited, we have to make choices, and those choices have impacts. And the question becomes, well, if this is the direction we want to go, are we willing to live with the results of that? If water is limited, or you're going to be forced to take a shorter shower. So it's not going to be by choice. It's going to be out of necessity. And if you overuse your water amount, then you're not going to have it for other things like growing food or feeding animals that you might have. So that was the idea here. So we had water abundance, too much water, like a lot of water, and ease of access to it. And then over here we had physical water scarcity, which is where there is a physical water scarcity issue, meaning that there's not enough water to be had for whatever reason, whether that's drought or something else. Maybe the water is polluted or something along those lines. Then we got to, and I'll flip this right here, we went to economic water scarcity. And that was the one in the back where you had to walk really, really far back to the back of the room, right back here, right? And you had to get those pictures. You can see them right here in the background, right? You had to go back and pour the pictures. Now, remember, in this one with economic water scarcity, it's the idea that water is so scarce that it costs a lot of money. If you might remember in the beginning of class, I asked you what was the most you would pay for a bottle of water. And some of you said $2. And I told you in some places of the world, water is almost more expensive than alcohol, which is strange when you think about it. So whatever the reason is, whether it was cost or whether it was access to water or there was political unrest, certain areas in the world have to rely on unimproved water sources. So that means like dirty water that may be many, many miles from home. And I remember the stories that many of us had. We were walking back here and I had conversations with you about, you knew about other countries where people had to walk miles, 3 hours away from their houses to be able to bring back water. Remember, you carried the big heavy bags with you back and forth to simulate what it would feel like to have to carry water. And that would just be one container of water at 5 pounds. Now imagine if you have to carry a lot more. Now, not only are you restricted in terms of how much water you can use, you're also restricted into how much you can carry. If you're not strong enough, you're not going to be able to do that. So the question becomes, did we ever get enough resources to help our populations? Now, you're going to get different results based off of the outcome of your particular pouring techniques. But the idea stays the same. If you have a lot of water, you're going to be okay because you're going to be able to do all the needs that you need for your population. If you don't have a lot of water, well, then you're going to have to start to pick and choose where you use that resource. But the worst case scenario would be not only is water scarce, but there's an economic impact of it as well too,